And you are live, Chairman.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to this Central Area Planning Committee meeting on Wednesday, the 24th of February 2021. My name is Councillor Michael Edwards and I am the Chairman of this committee. This meeting is held under new regulations which came into effect on the 4th of April in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. There are just a few housekeeping issues to run through. First of all, please could I ask everyone present in this meeting to ensure your microphone remains muted when not addressing the committee. This will reduce background noises and avoid any unintentional disturbances. This meeting will be hosted remotely via conferencing software. This allows members of the public to virtually attend the meeting whilst being able to protect themselves and others and observe the government's lockdown measures. We are streaming this meeting live as well as recording, and by being present in the meeting, you are giving your consent to being recorded. Members and officers, during each item, please use the hands up function of the meeting to indicate if you wish to speak. I will then invite you at the appropriate time. Members are reminded that apart from points of order or indicating that you must leave the meeting, the chat function should not be used for questions or any other purposes. When speaking and referring to the agenda papers, please ensure you reference a page or paragraph number and keep your contributions as clear and concise as possible. When invited to speak, please ensure you turn on your microphone. Now, if I may ask officers taking part in the meeting to introduce themselves, starting with Mr. Lee.
Good evening, members. I'm Matthew Lee, Lead Specialist Place at Maldon District Council and Chief Planning Officer. Thank you.
And Hannah Dungate.
Good evening, Chairman and members. I'm Hannah Dungate, Planning Specialist within the Development Management team. Thank you.
Thank you. And Katie Fuller.
Good evening, members. My name is Katie Fuller. I'm clerk to this evening's committee.
Thank you. Are there any other officers present? Okay, thank you. Before I call on the clerk to take the roll call of committee members, can I ask those councillors in attendance to introduce themselves, please? Are there any? No. Okay, thank you. Katie, please can you now carry out a roll call of members to confirm who is in attendance? Thank you.
Yes, Chairman. Members, I will call your names in alphabetical order. Councillor Miss Beale, please.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor Hurd.
You're muted, Councillor Hurd.
Sorry, Chairman. Good evening, Katie, Chairman and colleagues present.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan.
Good evening, everyone. I'm present, Katie. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mays.
Good evening, present.
Thank you. Councillor Morris.
Good evening and welcome.
Thank you. Councillor Nunn.
Hi, Katie. Yes, I'm here. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Councillor Shaughnessy.
Here, Katie, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stilts.
Yes, good evening, everybody. I'm present, Katie.
Thank you. Councillor Swain.
Yes, present. Good evening.
That's the whole roll call, Chairman.
Thank you, Katie. Item 2, may I have the apologies for absence, please, Katie?
There are none, Chairman.
Thank you. And agenda item 3, minutes of the 2nd of December. It is recommended that the minutes of the meeting held on the 2nd of December 2020, found on pages 7 to 14, are approved as a true and accurate record. I so move, and if you wish to second that motion, please unmute your microphone and state your name now, please.
Seconded, Councillor Nunn.
Thank you, Councillor Nunn. If any members wishes to raise any matter of accuracy, please use the hands up function to indicate, and I will invite you to speak. Katie, please can you advise if any member has indicated a wish to speak?
No member has indicated, Chairman.
I'm sorry, just going back a bit, did I mention that the minutes are on page 17 to 14? I think I did, didn't I? Yes. Okay, Katie, we'll now take the vote. Please, each member in alphabetical order, please state for, against, abstain.
Excuse me, Chair, can we do this by set?
Yes, if everyone is willing, agree?
Yes.
Agreed, Chair. I think.
Agreed.
Okay,
Agreed.
Agenda item 4, declarations of interest. To disclose the existence and nature of any disclosable pecuniary interests, other pecuniary interests, or non-pecuniary interests relating to items of business on the agenda, having regard to paragraphs 6 to 8, inclusive of the Code of Conduct for members. Members are reminded that they are also required to disclose any such interests as soon as they become aware that they should the need arise throughout the meeting. If any member has an interest to declare, please use the hands up function now to indicate, and I will invite you to speak. Katie, can I advise if any member has indicated a wish to speak?
No member has indicated, Chairman.
Thank you. Item 5.
Sorry, Chairman. I did put my hand up. I believe I have got my hand.
Councillor Morris.
I'd just like to declare a non-pecuniary interest. I've frequented the Waffle Bar. My daughter absolutely loves it. And when she heard that we was sitting on this one today, she actually informed me that if I didn't vote for whatever proposal they put forward, that she would leave home and never speak to me again. So I'd like to just announce that I will most definitely be against anything they put up. No, I'm only joking. That's just a bit of satire. Yeah, I've used the Waffle Bar quite a bit with my daughter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. Item 5, application 20/01208/LBC, listed building consent, the Waffle Bar, 144 High Street, Maldon, CN95BX. We move to agenda item, planning application, which I've just mentioned, and these found on pages 15 to 90. In a moment, I will call on the officer to present this item. Members, a reminder that if you wish to speak on this item, please make this known by using the hands up function within this meeting. I will then come to you in turn. And if you please keep your points clear and succinct. Katie, please can you present your report? Sorry, Hannah, please can you repeat this report?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Listed building consent is sought for the removal of the brick pier from the east boundary wall of number 144 The High Street, Maldon. Number 144 is a Grade 2 listed building dating from the medieval period. The existing brick wall, however, appears to have been constructed in the 1930s when the adjacent property, number 146, was built, which is located here. Although the structure in itself is not listed, it is protected as a structure within the curtilage of number 144, as it predates 1948. As such, the removal of the brick pier requires listed building consent. Here is the location plan for the proposal showing the application site. And here is the block plan for the proposal. This plan shows the positioning of the brick pier to be removed here, which is set back from the back edge of the footpath by approximately 4.9 meters, 3.9 meters, sorry. There is also a brick pier which is adjacent to the footpath, which will be retained as shown here. The plan also shows the location of 3 brick piers which have already been removed from the rear of the site, which are here. This is a photo of the front of number 146, 144, sorry, taken from the high street. It shows the brick pier to be retained at the front of the site here, as well as the brick pier to be removed, which is further back behind it. This is another photo from the high street taken in front of number 146. And as you can see from this photo, the brick pier to be removed is not visible. This is a photo of the brick pier to be removed, taken from within the site. And this is another photo taken further back within the site. And this is a photo of an existing location of a brick pier, which has already been removed within the site. To conclude, as this is a listed building consent application, the proposed development can only be assessed in relation to its impact on the significance of the listed building, which in this case is number 144. The Council's Heritage and Conservation Specialist has raised no objections to the proposal and has commented that the brick wall is of limited historical significance in relation to the setting of the listed building and Maldon Conservation Area. As such, the removal of the brick pier would result in no harm to the significance of the listed building, and it is therefore recommended that listed building consent is granted for the proposal, subject to a condition relating to the making good of the brick wall with matching bricks should any damage occur to the face of the wall. Thank you, Chairman. That is all.
Thank you, Hannah. We have one public participant for this planning application, and in line with the public participation scheme, I now invite an objector, Mr. David Smythe, on behalf of the Maldon Society to read out his submission. May I remind you that you are allocated 2 minutes only for public speaking in accordance with the scheme. So when you're ready, Mr. Smythe. Thank you.
Good evening. Yes, David Smythe, representing the Maldon Society. The Maldon Society objects to this proposal. The applicant themselves admit that the wall in question is in a precarious state and may well need addressing, and is made up of a mishmash of historic bricks and modern flattens. Several of the piers further along the wall have previously been removed, and consequently the structural integrity of the wall has already been compromised. Any further reduction or removal of piers will only hasten the instability of the whole wall and should be resisted. Lack of maintenance should not be a reason to destroy specific architectural elements. The circular form of the piers is an example of an unusual solution to the need to provide piers to ensure structural stability. Their unique Art Deco style of stack bonding is not inherently a strong method of brick bonding and therefore needs to be treated with respect. The remaining piers are, in our view, a very attractive example of an architectural style that, although not related to the adjacent listed buildings, is underrepresented within the conservation area. As to the eclectic mix, and is justifiably worthy of retention and safeguarding. The area where the lorry has been shown, this area is often used for car parking or access to the buildings at the rear, and even at its narrowest point is adequate for such purposes. The width of the access at this point is shown to be 2.8 metres, and as the available width further back at the corner of the listed building is narrower at approximately 2.6 metres, then removing the pier would not create a wider access and would be of no benefit. We consider this important vestige of 20th century architectural style not widely represented within the conservation area is worthy of retention and consent should be withheld. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Smythe. Are there any others wish to comment on that before we move on to the recommendation?
Not at this time, thank you, Chairman.
Okay. The recommendation that's set out within the report is as follows. The recommendation that planning application 20/01208/LBC for the Waffle Bar 144 High Street, Maldon, be approved subject to the conditions as detailed in section 8 of this report. If any member wishes to second that motion, please unmute your microphone and state your name now.
Councillor Stilts.
Thank you. I will now invite members to make any comments on the report. Katie, who has indicated they wish to speak, please? I think we ought to go, if I may, to Councillor Mays, as this was a call-in on her request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I shall be brief. Although this may be a wall in somewhat of poor condition, I think that is somewhat deliberate on the part of the applicant. However, it does allow sufficient room for vehicles to get through. It will cause significant harm to the high street scene, as I see it every time I walk down the high street and past the Waffle Bar. I think it is, as Mr. Smythe said, of historical interest, very unusual, and it does provide some stability to that wall. As can be seen from those that have already been removed, there may be issues further along the wall. However, its historical value is quite important, and I'd actually like to hand to Councillor Nunn, who is much better informed on these things and our architectural heritage. And so I'd like to pass to my colleague, Councillor Nunn. Thank you.
Are you happy with that, Chair? I mean, are you happy for me to speak?
Yes, Councillor Nunn.
Thank you very much. Well, I mean, I've known this wall all my life, and I've always been interested in it. And it's, to a lot of people, it's just a wall, but I'm not convinced it's 30s. I think actually parts of it are earlier than the 30s. And as far as I can see, it's a unique piece of architectural or built heritage in the conservation area. Walls were built like this sometimes to avoid, believe it or not, corners being knocked off. And you can see examples of that in other buildings. So at Beeley Road, for example, the building on the corner of Beeley Road and Gate Street has got a rounded corner. So I think that's all part of it. It was also used during the Second World War by the Home Guard. So it has got quite a story behind it. I'm very surprised, to be honest with you, that the Conservation Officer has said what he said. But as Mr. Lee has said to us in the past, the Conservation Officer is only a consultee, but I am surprised because I think it is an integral part of the story of 144 High Street. I got very confused by the application at first because I thought it was to take the wall down. I didn't realise until I looked at the excellent presentation by Hannah that it was a one buttress rather than the front and the rounded part on the front. But what troubles me is something that Mr. Smythe said, that buttresses are there for a purpose. They're there for stability. And one wonders why and how the previous buttresses have been removed, actually. But is it a case, and I'm no specialist on buildings, is it a case that if buttresses are removed, the wall is in danger? So I think for all of those reasons, I'm very concerned by this, but primarily I'm concerned because I think it is an important historical feature and part of the story of 144 and part of the story of the town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Nunn. Do any of the officers want to come back on any other observations from Councillor Nunn?
Thank you, Chairman. Happy to come back. As Ms. Dungay explained, this application is a listed building application, so it is materially different to a planning application per se. The only considerations that we can have as the decision makers is whether or not this wall, and in this case specifically the pillar, add to the historic nature of the listed building. Whether or not they are a key component to preserving and enhancing the character and historic significance of this structure. As Councillor Nunn said, the historic advisor is just that, an advisor, it's a consultee, and that goes for any consultee. Their response, whether it's highways, whether it's historic environment, whether it's environment agency, etc., is a material consideration, but it isn't a simple case of just because someone advises something, we have to do it as decision maker. We have to just make sure we have taken that on board. And as I said, we've been advised that it's the 1930s wall. Councillor Nunn says he may think it's slightly older than that, and quite possibly it is. But I think as officers and as the local PA, we consider that the actual wall does not add significantly to the setting of the listed building, to the value of the listed building. And as this is a listed building application per se, that's the thing we should be looking at. Although it may be an attractive feature within the street scene, although it may be an unusual architectural feature within the street scene, that doesn't automatically mean that it's something that can be refused. It would be different if they were looking to remove the whole wall, partly because it's in a conservation area and it would actually need planning permission on its own right in that instance. But this is just one pier, so I can't remember the piece of case law off the cuff, but that means it doesn't need planning permission because there is case law that's clear about that. But it does need listed building centre, but it is only about the impact on listed buildings. So I think members need to be conscious about that when having the debate. It isn't just a case of this wall's a nice architectural feature in the street scene. It is about its impact on the listed building per se. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. I think Councillor Logan next.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Nunn's actually sort of highlighted quite a few of the issues that I have with the application. It's very easy to wash away history for convenience, and I think this is absolutely a unique fitting in the town and does add to 144 and 148. And I think when you look at policy D3 with the conservation and heritage assets, it's clear because it talks about development proposals that affect a heritage asset and its setting are required to preserve or enhance its special character, appearance and setting, including the street scene landscape value. Well, this certainly does. I think it's a very, very valuable asset to have. We've been clear in that policy. I think I was quite surprised and shocked when I looked at the back of it to find that the previous pillars had been removed, and I wonder how they were removed. We need to look into that, but that's not for consideration tonight. So I echo my colleagues' comments. I think that the buttress should be saved. It doesn't cause any problem. It is uniqueness, and I believe, colleagues, that it does actually add to the value of 144 and 148. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Logan. Councillor Hurd.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm happy to speak, but I think the others were before me.
Who's? I can't. Oh, Councillor Mays again. Is that a legacy hand?
I think it was Councillor Shaughnessy, then Swain, then myself. Although.
Okay, Councillor Shaughnessy. Sorry, I can't see. And you're muted. Still muted.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, thank you. Well, obviously, I'll just be brief because I had almost identical notes before me as Councillor Nunn. I agree with the things that the member of the public was talking about, the member from the Maldon Society. And I am greatly concerned about the stability of the wall, because as someone has said before me, these pillars are not there, just for decoration. They are indeed decorative, but they must have had something to do with, the stability of the wall originally. I think that almost goes without saying. And I do worry that if this pier is taken down, whether the whole wall will come down. I mean, care has not been taken with that wall, as is immediately obvious. I walked past there the other day. Someone has been careless with the top of that wall, as I think has been mentioned by somebody else. It's obvious that a truck can reverse down there past the front pillar and that pillar. So I really cannot see why this pillar must come down. I think the whole wall should be reinforced properly, including that pillar. That is my opinion. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Shaughnessy. Councillor Swain.
Thank you, Chairman. I know what Matt Lee has said about it's being really distinct from Waffle Bar itself. I am concerned, an interesting feature of the wall, which maybe Councillor Nunn might be able to say something about, is the top of the pillar, particularly at the pavement, and whether the indentation in it had some purpose for either another structure or ornament of some sort. However, having said that, the key thing is the other pillars have been removed, and the one in question has been damaged, and I'm not should we say, favourable disposed to people who damage things and then complain that it's unstable, and that applies to the wall itself. But the pier, and if the pier is removed, I think reinforcement in the form of an alternative pier would still be required. But the point about impact is that the piers further back are relatively minor in their what should we say, their attractiveness or their importance compared with the one at the front, on the front of the wall. That is what needs to be retained, and the wall needs to be properly restored, which may well involve a replacement pillar of some sort. So while I would like to see the existing one that's in question restored, I don't think there's sufficient argument in favour of retaining it, as long as the wall is stabilised and renovated, and the pavement side is correct. So I will accept the officer's recommendation, but I think it needs a reinforced condition concerning the state of the wall. Otherwise, I can quite see the property owner coming back before long and saying the wall just is completely unstable. I think the wall needs proper repair and restoration, and if that involves an alternative pier, so be it. But otherwise, I would go along with the recommendation concerning this rear pier. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swain. Right, Councillor Hurd.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be brief as well, because most of what I want to say has been said. Although the matter before us today is looking at this single buttress, the cumulative effect of the other buttresses being removed as well really does concern me. I am very surprised also that the Conservation Officer has decided that this has no architectural merit. But my main concern is, a buttress it's an architectural structure built against or projecting from a wall which serves to support or reinforce the wall. Why on earth would you want to remove it if it's there for safety reasons? Because the ones that have already been removed, and there is a question over why they've been removed, why would you remove yet another one to make it even more unsafe? So I really echo what my colleagues have already said. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hurd. Sorry, who's next? Shaughnessy, is that a legacy hand?
I apologise if it is. No, I haven't got a hand up.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Larkin, your hand's up. No. Is there anyone else?
Scratching my face, Chair. That's a scratch. I use the chat function hand.
Councillor Swain, you want to come back again? You're muted. You're muted.
Yes, regarding the other pillars, did they get a listed building consent to be removed?
No, I can't answer. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair.
That
Through
isn't
you,
what
Chair.
we're discussing.
Yeah, they didn't, as far as I can see from the planning history of the site. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Okay, so sorry.
Well, I was going to recommend we go to the vote, Chairman.
I was just going to say that, Chair.
Councillor Nunn's got his hand up, Chairman.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah, Councillor Nunn.
Sorry, I was going to say the same thing, actually. Thank you.
So was I.
Yes.
Me too.
Okay, can we now move to the vote, please? Katie, can you please now take the vote?
Yes, Chairman. Members, I will take your names. Please could you indicate whether you are for, against or abstaining from the officer's recommendation for approval.
Thank you.
Councillor Miss Beale.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
Well, listening to the debate, I was thinking about for, but listening to the debate, I think now I'm convinced that I'll be also against.
Thank you. Councillor Hurd.
Against.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan.
Against, please, Katie.
Thank you. Councillor Mays.
Against, Katie, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Morris.
After reading the officer's report, my predisposition was to go with the officer's report, but after listening to the excellent debate and especially Mr. Smythe, I'm now going to abstain. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nunn.
Against, please, Katie.
Thank you. Councillor Shaughnessy.
Against. Thank you.
Iltz.
Against, Katie.
Thank you. Councillor Swain.
For, in the expectation that the condition 3 will be strengthened.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. That is 1 for, 8 against and 1 abstention.
Thank you, Katie. As the recommendation was for removal, we now have to decide on the reasons for going against the officer's recommendation.
Yes, please, Chair.
Sorry?
Yes, please, Chair.
Yes, Councillor Nunn.
So with Mr. Lee's advice, please, Chair, I would like to propose that the buttress is retained because it's an integral part of the design of a historically significant feature within the curtilage of 144 High Street.
I will second that motion. Councillor Mays.
Mr. Lee, is that sufficient?
To Chairman, I think that's quite a clear reason for refusal. So it's obviously within the members' committee's gift to determine the application. Yeah, but I think that's fine.
Okay, thank you. So do we need to go any further with that, or that is carried then that it's refused?
No, it needs to be voted on.
Oh,
yeah, well, Chairman, if I may just add to that, I think a number of members have voiced concerns about the safety of the wall, and I wonder whether Councillor Nunn might consider that to be incorporated in the reason.
If I may, Chair, I was trying to focus very much on the listed building element, the listed building consent, which is why I didn't sort of say anything else. I just spoke about the integral part of the historical feature. I do agree with Councillor Hurd. I do think it will make it unstable, but I don't think that's a valid reason. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Chairman, can I just echo what Councillor Nunn has said? I'd advise that he's taking the correct approach.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Katie, can we now have a vote on the reasons for the refusal of the application?
Yes, Chairman. So members, we are voting for the reasons for refusal as proposed by Councillor Nunn. If you could indicate whether you're for, against or abstaining, please. Starting with Councillor Miss Beale.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards.
This is for the the reasons.
To refuse.
To refuse the
Four,
application. Yes.
sorry, four. I got a bit confused there.
Thank you. Councillor Hurd.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Lagan.
For, please, Katie.
Thank you. Councillor Mays.
For, please, Katie.
Councillor Morris.
Abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Nunn.
4, please, Katie.
Thank you. Councillor Shaughnessy.
4, Katie, thanks.
The Stilts.
4, Katie, thank you.
Councillor Swain.
Abstain.
Chairman, that is 8 for, no, none against, and 2 abstentions.
Thank you, Katie. Agenda item 6. Any other items of business that the chairman of the committee decides are urgent? I have none. Therefore, go to item 7, closure of the meeting. Members, thank you for your contributions this evening, and I draw the meeting to a close at 6:36 p.m. And as the meeting is now closed, members are advised not to enter into any further discussion on this forum and to please leave the meeting promptly. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Bye, everyone.
Bye.